we need to go ahead and have a real discussion about PSO2 New Genesis when it comes to the ideal of it being a free to play game. But do that also mean, is it also a pay to win game, especially going into 2024? Now that we have a roadmap from Sega for well this is going over the next 6 months, and a lot of players is becoming more and more frustrated with that part of PSO. But the main question is, it is something that is legit justified at far of being indeed paid to win, or is PSO really no different than any other MMO? And of course, does that mean it a good thing, a bad thing, or is it just a big problem that might be honestly one of the biggest things working against PSO2 at far of expanding beyond its niche circles here in the MMO space? But before we jump into discussing all that, I do want to give a very special thank you to everybody that hit that wonderful subscribe button over on patreon.com/Maconn, subscribing over on twitch.tv/ChoyMaconn, and of course hitting that wonderful join button as well here on YouTube. So with that being said, let's get into this. Let's go over everything you need to know about what you can spend money on, how is all the transaction stuff work, as well as is PSO actually pay to win. And of course, when it comes to any free-to-play game, there is multiple types of currency that you can get your hands on. Some are paid, some are free, some are a little more in the middle. So let's just go ahead and go over the three main currency of PSO2 New Genesis. And of course, the main thing we need to talk about here when it comes to pay currency only is, of course, AC. AC is, of course, as you can go ahead and see here, is a currency you can buy with real money, going from any real from 99 cents for 100 all the way up to, of course, $99.99 here for, of course, 10,300. And like any other game, as you buy higher and higher tiers, you will get bonus AC. But the main thing to keep in mind here is roughly about 100 AC will equal roughly 1 USD. And of course, what you can do with that currency is a few things, which in return brings us to our second currency in the game itself, which is Star Gems, also known as SG in the community. And of course, this is the currency that is more the in-between currency between the whole buying with real money and playing the game itself to get your hands on that currency. And as you can see by the breakdown, for every dollar or 100 AC, you can get your hands on 20 Star Gems. So, the other translation for that, 100 AC is $1, 20 Star Gems is $1 USD. And of course, you can go ahead and buy this all the way up to, of course, $98 if you want to get your hands on it. With that being said, since this is the whole halfway mark between pay and free, you can, of course, get your hand on that currency in a handful of ways. So, to just go ahead and go over some of that, you can go ahead and get your hands on this by, of course, taking part in your weeklies. And as you can see, you will go ahead and get you roughly about 30 SG a week by doing your weeklies, as well as, of course, by taking part in the lookbook system, which is pretty much a place where you can look at other people's characters and see what fashion they are using. And of course, by going ahead and liking them, you can also get 1 HG per person with a grand total of 5 HG daily. And speaking of dailies, you can also get your hands on that by taking part in daily login campaign. It won't be every day, but every few days you can go ahead and get your hands on 20 of these. And of course, if you are a subscriber to PSO, which we will talk about in a moment, you can also get your extra 20 as well. So this is another way you can do it. There is also, every once in a while, whenever we do have a seasonal event, you can also pick up some currency by a court taking part in activity and combat. And you can go ahead and spend that currency on some Star Gems as well. And of course, you can go ahead and get your hands on this from the NPC Shandy. And this would be another 20 times, I believe, usually about 10, maybe 15 purchases from this NPC. So as you can see, you can go ahead and get you a decent amount from taking part in seasonal event, as well as, of course, trading in some items to some other NPC for, of course, doing some dailies and whatnot. So as you can see, etchy is something you can get a decent amount of hands on, but at the same time, this is a pretty limited per event, per day, and per weekly. But nonetheless, this is a decent amount that you can get from taking part in it. You can also get some if you happen to also play a PSO2, which is the base game, to NGS, which is, of course, a separate download to take part in that, but you can nonetheless get some of the etchy over there. And then our final currency here is 100% free. You get it through playing the game itself, which is Meseta. Meseta is a very interesting currency because as you look around, you might see people with hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the currency. But with how PSO is, pretty much just think of a million meseta is pretty much bare minimum, the cheapest that you can pretty much get, because everything pretty much will cost a little over that for the most part, with a few exceptions. But nonetheless, meseta, it for the most part, pretty simple to get, which in return will play into a discussion we will have in a moment about the actual free-to-play. But just know, meseta can be farmed by doing quests daily, selling stuff on the player market, and running around outside doing combat and whatnot. So with that all being said, though, let's go ahead and get into what exactly you can actually spend your money on. So let's go ahead and start with AC itself. Outside of buying SG, you can, of course, use it to buy a handful of things, such as some DLC packs, that will, of course, give you a whole bunch of cosmetic items, from outfits to house items, as well as you can see here a few items of interest, such as, of course, enhancements to set weight, extra inventory space, some of the stuff for the cosmetics, such as being able to change the color of your character or your body type, as well as a couple other things here and there, which keep that in mind when it comes to the enhanced stuff, because we are going to circle back to that in a moment. But outside of the DLC packs, you can also pick up the subscription itself for PSO2. So whenever there's not like a special event happening, that will actually make this a little bit cheaper. For the most part, they stay roughly at $13 US to buy the subscription. And the main thing about the subscription, it will get access to a few things, such as the ability to sell items on the player market, which once again, put a pin in that. We will be back to that in a second. As well as some extra inventory space, as well as being able to, when you pick up items when you're outside the city, it will automatically sell them for meseta to you without having to go into your menu or talk to an NPC. You can set it up to do it automatically for you. That is also exclusive to the subscription, as well as a few other little knickknacks, such as being able to put bonuses on your character for extra experience, extra well drops, and whatnot. And also, speaking of a well drop and extra experience, you can also buy that stuff separate. You can go ahead and get your hands on some well drop weight, some experience, some meseta gain as well here. So as you can see here, this is going for anywhere from $1 to $2 a pop, all the way up to $3, $8 as well for the more higher end versions of that. And you might be thinking, well, isn't that one of the things that obviously is pay to win? You can just pay to get better drops. Pretty much, yes, but at the same time, a lot of the drop weight in PSO2 is not good at all. So in a lot of ways, you could spend, hundreds of dollars here, and you might come out with nothing of real note. So that one is a little more wishy-washy when it comes to being paid to win, because when it comes to this stuff, it's still RNG, and PSO have horrible RNG. So once again, your opinion on that might change. Let me know in the comment how you feel about that. But that is not like the main thing that I personally find to be an issue here when it comes to the pay to win discussion. But nonetheless, we will get to that in a moment. as you can see, there are a whole bunch of stuff you can buy here for that. When it comes to edgy, pretty much kind of similar. You can buy some passes that will give you extra billion and drop weight. But the main thing edgy are you for in this anyway is of course extra inventory space, auto sell, and whatnot. It's very much a more about inventory and inventory management when it comes to edgy. But nonetheless, these are some of the items you can buy through edgy itself. But when it comes to the actual main issue here for a PSO2 New Genesis, it have to be it AC scratch item. So the best way to think of this, if you're not familiar, this is pretty much the gotcha slap pull mechanic of a PSO2. And of course, you might be thinking, oh, do you pull for characters or what? What made this any more pay to win than any other free to play game? And of course, the main thing about this is, of course, no, you do not pull for characters. So how this actually operates is Sega will release anywhere from 4 to 6 of these every single month. And of course, each of these will have a handful of items. And of course, you can go ahead and see the items here. It goes pretty much the gambit of stuff here. Certain ones will just give items that we can put on our characters, such as indicate tails, wings, horns, like backpack pieces, hairstyle, as well as, of course, getting into some cosmetic when it comes to like your weapons and your camo for it. So this is very heavily cosmetic focus here. And of course, you might be thinking, oh, that's not too bad because it's all just cosmetics. But the thing is that we do have, of course, some other scratches that will come in as well every now and again, which will, of course, be tied to giving items to player base. So the item can be anything from the ability to upgrade your equipment without having to worry about losing money, or the items you need to put into your weapon to upgrade them. And in some cases, you just straight up get the items also known as augments that you can go ahead and put into your weapon that will make it stronger. And of course, these, once again, do only pop up every a couple of months. But that is something to keep in mind when the scratch ticket come into play. You can literally spend real money to get more powerful equipment for your characters and your weapon. But that is not it, though. We'll go a little bit farther than that. But let's go ahead real fast, though. Talk about the SG side, because for everyone that is a free-to-play player, you, of course, will get one free pull every single day. And most of the time, it will come from scratch ticket that will not have items that actually will make your character more powerful. It is mainly just outfits as well, and accessory, music, stuff for your house, stuff like that. But the main thing about all of this is, of course, what do you do with it once you have the items? Since you might be thinking, oh, you just pull, you unlock it for your character, and you're good to go. And if you don't have real money, or they don't have the like special items that you want in the free pool, like you would think like whatever, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. But this is where the biggest clutch of PSO2 New Genesis comes in a sense. Not only when it comes to like the outfit side, as well as when you do the pools that will have the augment and enhance items in it, you can go ahead and, of course, use it on yourself if you want. But there is another part of this that becomes a little more shady, which is, of course, back to the player market. Because in PSO2 New Genesis, any item that you get elite from the AC scratches, you can go ahead and sell it on the player market for the in-game currency, as well as them DLC we talked about that have the pack of a whole bunch of items in it. That stuff can also be sold on the player market as well. And of course, on one hand, this is not that bad, because you can, as a free-to-play player, if they're like an outfit or something you really want to get your hands on, but you do not want to spend real money to pull for it or deal with the RNG of getting it, you can just buy it off the player market. That seemed all fine and good, but once you start thinking and dwelling on that, you start realizing, like, wait a minute. So not only the player base that actually spend money to do the pool for the items can put them up on the market, they then get that translated to the in-game currency of Meseta, which in return, if you are a player base that is constantly pulling items here and constantly putting them up for sale, you will end up having billions and billions of Meseta to not only to buy another outfit. So let's say you do a pool, you get a hat, you don't want the hat, you want the pants, put it up on the market, sell it, get the money, buy the pants. That is great. But on the other hand, everything that come from AC scratches are sellable. So that means any item that you get for enhancing your equipment, any augments you get, you can also sell on the market itself. So in return, not only for the people that do that have way more money than the average player base itself, and can go ahead and buy whatever they want, from straight up power to just all of the cosmetics they actually want if they didn't care about it to begin with, all willy-nilly. And as you can see, you start putting together, the more money you can spend, the more money you can get in game. And of course, this is just a legal way that Sega pretty much allow players to buy gold, or in the case Meseta, outright. And of course, what comes from this, and not only is it pay to win for the people who are taking part in this and becoming more and more powerful because of this, this also have a real bad side effect on the community itself, which in return is inflation. Because of course, how this operates when you have players that have more money in game than the average player that is getting Meseta through normal means of farming, daily, weekly, or whatever it might be. Of course, that will cap out to how much time you have. And of course, you could have a couple of million Meseta on your account if you're a free-to-play player. But if you are a paid player for the scrap tickets, you can get an insane amount of money, which in return, you start seeing prices skyrocketing for items that are much more desirable, and in general, just items in, I get general here. Because also the other thing to keep in mind about all of this is that the items that are sellable, elite, the more cosmetic stuff, all tied to FOMO. So of course, the items that are tied to the gacha pools will be leaving in roughly 2 to 3 weeks, and in return, when the items are gone from the scratch tickets, they have a limited amount, since all cosmetics, when it comes to, of course, outfits and hair and whatnot, are consumable. So once someone buy it, use it on the character to unlock it, it cannot be resold. So in return, certain items will become insanely expensive. And of course, this is not an ideal situation for the player base. And you might be thinking, it's fine. The people who play for free can just sell items as well and make money as well. And of course, can play the market by buying items and hoping they go up in price to then sell later. But the thing is about that, that is not 100% accurate. Because when it comes to the shop itself and the player market, yes, anyone can buy anything off the market if they have the money for it. But when it comes to selling, this all go back to the subscription that we talked about before. Since there are only roughly 3 ways to actually sell something on the player market. First of all, the subscription and paying the $13 a month to get the ability to sell as many items as you want on the player market during the time that you have a sub. And if you are a free-to-play player, your only option here is, of course, by taking part in the PSO2 New Genesis Battle Pass here. And that way you can get your hands on a 3-day ticket to sell as much stuff as you want for a 3-day timer. And just know you can only get your hands on that 1 time a month, and it at till 24. So with that being said, anytime a new battle pack began, you got yourself a few days before you can even get to this, and any if you do get your hands on the 3-day pass. With that being so limited, you better believe you're going to be having to very much micromanage what items you are selling to make the most amount of money for that month, or just mainly just stay in at all point, constantly checking your player market for when something sells. That way you can put something else up. So as you can see here, this is a big disadvantage to the free-to-play players. But you might be wondering about the third way to get your hands on the ability to sell items on the player market. And of course, it go right back to real money, since the subscription is 13, but if you just want the player shop, it is $7 a month just for that ability. So as you can see here, when it comes to actually making Meseta in the game and having the ability to upgrade your equipment, your weapons, and to just buy them items outright without having a farm to deal with the insane RNG, you want to have Meseta, and the best way to get that Meseta is, of course, by just pulling out your credit card and buying scratches as is, and hope and putting the items up for sale on the player market and get you a whole bunch of money that way. But the thing is, overall, this is frustrating and a little irritating, especially as, of course, the items become more as well as the player base shrinking. And by shrinking, it let people spend money on that type of stuff. And then we run into a problem where the top 1% of the player base is pretty much trading money between themselves. Because if you want a certain hairstyle or outfit, do you want to farm for literally weeks to get your hands on 40, 50, $100 million in Meseta to buy an item that might not even be there by the time you get your hands on that kind of money? So as you can see, this is something that can become very frustrating very fast. And of course, you might be thinking, it's not that big of a deal. The economy not going to get that screwed up. And like, yeah, it sucks, but I can get the items if I want, if I just put in the time to farm. And of course, we have an example of how that is not the case. Just because it haven't fully happened in PSO2 New Genesis yet, won't mean it won't happen at all. Because we have precedent of it becoming an issue. And of course, that example is a PSO2, because in PSO2 we had the same ability to acquire a buy outfit through the scratch pool system. And of course, as you can see here, as we got farther and farther in, the game itself just constantly kept booming all the way up to, as you can see, spending literally a 630 million Meseta on literally some shoes to put on your character. And we got all the way up to $1 billion for some of this, and that is just not for outfits as well. You can go ahead and see it for like weapon skins. I can also get up into the hundreds of millions of dollars depending. Armor is literally 70, 50, $38 million. Weapons itself, $500 million or more as well from the stuff. Don't get me wrong, there is stuff that is kind of cheap, like some of the crafting items are a little bit cheaper. Some of the house items can also be a little cheap. But if you are, in the case of PSO2, trying to get your hands on any of the cosmetic, it's pretty much near impossible to do so. As well as the thing to keep in mind about that is the cosmetic from PSO2 is usable in NGS as well. So as you can tell here, there is items that is just unattainable for the majority of players that might be coming in now, or hell, any for older players that have been playing since day one of release in global. As you can see, my character right now have 384 million Meseta, and that is like maybe one item, maybe two items, if that. So as you can see here, inflation is something to really be worrying about, especially as a New Genesis aging. that will become more and more of a problem overall. And will do all this come back to the wonderful scratch system in PSO2 as well as New Genesis. So with that all being said, to answer the question, is PSO2 a pay to win? The answer is pretty much yes. You can pretty much control the market. You can go ahead and pretty much get your hands on any equipment, any item, any outfit that you pretty much want to get your hands on by just sliding your credit card inside of whatever platform you play on. So as you can see, this is one of them cases of when it comes to PSO2 New Genesis being a pay to win. Yeah, the answer is pretty much yes here. As soon as you can start trading real money for in-game currency that you can then use to upgrade and buy better equipment, if you don't just pull it directly out of the scratch ticket when they are available, pretty much it all boils down to trade up being a pay to win, as well as pay to win that will actually hurt the player base beyond the normal way people think most pay to win game does. This is also very much pricing a lot of players out of getting their hands on equipment and items and cosmetic that they want to get their hands on. And before you know it, we might have another situation like bait PSO2 when the inflation is so out of hand, nobody can afford anything other than the 1% of players that is pulling their credit card out of the wallet.